morning. Today we're meeting about Jansen. Jansen is a new 5th grader with us at PK this year. Because we didn't have any of his data passed along from his previous school, I decided to do an informal reading inventory to kind of assess where Jansen is in terms of reading. So the first part of this inventory is the word recognition test. Basically, it's just to see the automaticity Jansen has in recognizing words and if he's able to decode the words appropriate to the grade level. So I felt comfortable just from knowing Jansen to skip the first few grade levels. I started him off at the 3rd grade level. He received a 20 out of 20 raw score for both the timed portion and the untimed portion, giving him 100%, and he did the same for the 4th grade for the 4th grade word recognition test. Now, for 5th grade, he did make one error, giving him a raw score of 19 out of 20, and he was not able to fix that error for the untimed portion, also giving him a raw score of 19 out of 20. In other words, he received a 95% on both of these sections. The word that tripped him up was hasten. Hasten is not a decodable word, which means that he would have to recognize it automatically. He decoded the word to be hasten in both cases, but that is the only error he made in the 5th grade list. For 6th grade, he had a raw score of 18 out of 20 for the timed portion and was able to fix both of those mistakes to receive a score of 20 out of 20 for the untimed portion. I can go into more detail about which words he said incorrectly, but really I'd rather focus on the scores. If you would like me to go into more detail afterwards, I would be more than happy to do so. For the 7th grade word recognition test, I did put a rectangle around these scores because this is where I believe he is at the instructional level. He received a raw score of 16 out of 20 for the timed portion and a 17 out of 20 for the untimed portion, meaning that he did correct one of his mistakes. So what we really want to see for this word recognition test at the instructional level is that it's between about 70 to 85%. And we can see here that with these scores, he is at that level, most certainly. Moving to the 8th grade word recognition test, you can see that his score did dip a little bit to a raw score of 12 out of 20 for the timed portion. And he did actually correct most of his errors to receive an 18 out of 20 for the untimed portion. So in other words, those scores were 60% or 90%. But really, this 80 to 85% is exactly where we want him to be for the instructional level. So I would feel confident marking Jansen at a 7th grade level for the word recognition test. Now, because he received this because he is at the instructional level in 7th grade for word recognition, it's recommended that I administer an oral reading passage that is 2 levels previous to that. So I started him off at the 5th grade reading level for the oral reading comprehension passage. He received a 96% in reading accuracy. He did make a total of 8 errors. He self-corrected 2 of those. And then he answered 4 out of the 6 reading comprehension questions correctly, giving him a score of 67%. And you can see that his rate was 123 words per minute, which is right in the range that we want, because for 5th grade we want him to be reading at somewhere between 105 to 155 words per minute. So let's talk about the comprehension score. His comprehension score for 5th grade was 67%, which is kind of in that gray area between the instructional level and the frustration level. Even so, I did give him the 6th grade oral reading comprehension passage after to see how he would score on that. So in this case, he had a reading accuracy of 98%. He made a total of 5 errors and self-corrected 2 of those. His comprehension did bump up from the 5th grade to the 6th grade to an 83%. He scored 5 out of the 6 reading comprehension questions correctly, but you can see that his rate did drop pretty significantly from 123 words per minute to 96 words per minute, which I believe can account for the fact that his reading comprehension score increased. I think the fact that he read slower allowed him to retain more and increase his comprehension score. So I did initially create a box around the fifth grade level to be instructional, but you can see that I also have one around the fourth grade level. So after I administered the sixth grade reading passage, I decided to see if I could boost that comprehension score a little bit to be more in the range of the instructional level by giving him the fourth grade reading passage. So in this case, he received a 96% on reading accuracy. He made a total of 7 errors, and he actually did not self-correct any of those errors. And I'm going to actually jump to the rate. So you can see for the rate that he read at 142 words per minute, which is pretty quick. And I think that can probably explain why he did not self-correct any of his errors, because he was moving so quickly. As for the comprehension, he answered 4 questions correctly and also got partial credit on another question, giving him a raw score of 4.5 questions out of 6 questions. In other words, a 75% for that reading comprehension. Now, this really is where we want him for reading comprehension. The instructional level is typically between 75 to 89%, and we see that he achieves that here. So really, because he received a 96% for that reading accuracy, which is in the instructional level, which we do want that instructional level to be between 95 to 97%, which he does achieve here. As I said before, he was at the instructional level in reading comprehension, and he's also at an appropriate rate for a 5th grader, once again between 105 to 155 words per minute. So really, his instructional level is actually at a 4th grade level. Even though he is at the instructional level for both reading accuracy and the rate at 5th grade, that 67% in the reading comprehension shows me that we need to work with him more on reading comprehension to boost him up in grade levels. And that should really be our primary focus moving forward with instruction for Jansen in reading. Okay, so then moving to the silent reading comprehension passage, I started him off at the 5th grade reading passage. He read at a rate of 149 words per minute, and his comprehension was actually really high, 92%. So that means he scored 5.5 out of the 6 questions correctly. Now, so you might be thinking, okay, 92% is really high, and 149 words per minute is also very high. So then that would indicate to you that 5th grade is the instructional level. However, we can't really be fooled by the rate of 149 words per minute. It is typically expected that children will read faster for the during the silent reading comprehension passage than they will when they read out loud for the oral reading comprehension passage. So the fact that his comprehension was 92% is great, but this is probably more, the oral reading comprehension passage is probably more indicative of where Jansen is at for reading comprehension. Still moving forward, I looked at his 6th grade data, and he answered 3 questions correctly, received partial credit on 1 question, and did not get the answer correct for 2 of the questions, giving him a raw score of 3.5 out of 6. In other words, 58%. So the 58% is in that gray area between instructional and frustration level. However, you can see that he read really fast for this passage. He read 166 words per minute, which could account for part of the reason that his comprehension score was lower in this case. I did make a rectangle around the 5th and 6th grade levels, because we do want him to be at a instructional level between 75 to 89%. So kind of we're in a gray area for which instructional level Jansen is at for the silent reading comprehension. And I did administer the 7th grade reading passage as well. He scored a 67%. He answered 3 questions correctly. He got partial credit on 2 of those questions, and he answered 1 question incorrectly, giving him a raw score of 4 out of 6, or 67%. So he did read at 130 words per minute. Still, though, I want us to focus between the 5th grade and the 6th grade reading levels to be his instructional level, just based off of our knowledge of how he did in the oral reading comprehension passage. Now, moving on to spelling, I first administered the 5th grade spelling list. Jansen received a raw score of 9 out of 10. He spelled 1 word incorrectly. That word was suffering. And again, if you want to talk more about the specific errors he made and what they might mean, we can certainly talk more about that after we review his scores. So he received that score of 90% in the 5th grade list, and then you can see that it kind of dropped pretty significantly for the 6th grade reading list. He had a raw score of 5 out of 10, or a 50% for that 6th grade reading list. Now, for spelling, our instructional level is between 50 to 89%. So we can see that for both of these areas, he is right on the edges of the instructional level. Technically, he would be considered instructional at 6th grade, but he really is he's really at that lowest percent for the instructional level, whereas he is just right above the instructional level for 5th grade. So I would feel comfortable working with Jansen in either the 5th grade or the 6th grade spelling lists. So to conclude, with a summary of the score, looking at all of this data, I really would say that Jansen's instructional level for reading comprehension is about 4th or 5th grade. I think his independent level is certainly at 3rd grade, and potentially at 4th grade as well. And his frustration level seems to be definitely 7th grade and possibly 6th grade too. Again, the major focus that I'm taking from all of this is that what we need to work most on is that comprehension. So we can talk more about strategies to help Jansen with his comprehension whenever you would like.